Putin hasn't arrived in China, but Trump sent 3 challenges, trying to drive a wedge between China and Russia. Chinese banks might become the primary target for the US. If China fights back, Trump will have problems. This time, Trump is really anxious before Putin Tiananmen. The US issued 3 challenges, directly targeting Chinese banks to kick them out of the game. It's obvious they're trying to disrupt China-Russia friendship. So what's going on? Reports from Russian news agencies state that right after news broke Putin would visit China on August 31st and watch the September 3rd military parade from Tiananmen, US senators immediately got restless. Overnight, they rushed out some kind of bipartisan bill, threatening to sanction Chinese banks. The timing of this move is blatantly political. Putin is coming to watch the parade, and Trump is pushing for sanctions. It's obvious they're trying to undermine China-Russia relations. But this time, Trump's calculations are off. The bill requires a report on Chinese personnel within 180 days, and even threatens to impose triple sanctions on Chinese banks. Kicking China out of the US financial system, banning technology exports, and freezing Chinese assets in the US all sound intimidating, but in reality, the US can't provide concrete evidence that China is supplying military aid to Russia. It's empty talk. What's more outrageous is that while the US criticizes China for doing business with Russia, it's secretly importing strategic materials like uranium from Russia. This double standard has reached a shameless level. Trade between China and Russia is normal business and fully complies with international law. So why does the US think it can impose sanctions at will? Right now, Trump is grasping at straws. On the Ukrainian battlefield, Russia is gaining the upper hand. The US has spent billions, still can't win. Facing domestic economic problems and dropping approval ratings, they need a scapegoat to divert attention. China has become the perfect target. This satisfies the appetite of anti-China forces and helps project a tough image. However, Trump probably didn't expect that today's China is no longer a weak country to be pushed around. China's foreign exchange reserves exceed $3 trillion, most of which are US Treasury bonds. If the US really dares to freeze China's assets, China can simply sell off US Treasury bonds in retaliation. At that point, US Treasury prices would plummet, interest rates would soar, and the first to suffer would be the US itself. Even India isn't afraid of America's threats. Just a few days ago, Trump threatened India, saying he would impose a 10% tariff, but India completely ignored him and kept buying Russian oil as usual. If even India doesn't buy into America's threats, why would China be afraid? On one hand, Trump is waving the sanctions stick, and on the other, he's still hoping to meet with China's leader at year-end to discuss a trade agreement. This schizophrenic behavior is that even his own Treasury Secretary can't stand it, stating the president needs flexibility. To put it bluntly, this hints these sanction bills are probably for show. Trump is genuinely panicking, seeing Putin about to stand atop Tiananmen Gate on September 3rd, commemorating the anti-fascist war victory with China's leader. This scene is a nightmare for American hegemony. China and Russia, 2 major powers, are openly demonstrating their strategic cooperation. It means the era of American dominance is coming to an end. But no matter how much Trump struggles, what is destined to happen will still happen. On September 3rd, the whole world will see that it's not just the leaders of China and Russia standing atop Tiananmen Gate. Instead, it will be a new international order that is taking shape. America's unilateral hegemony is being replaced by a multipolar world, and this is an inevitable trend in history. So, in the end, most of these sanction bills are all bark and no bite. Trump is still counting on the China-US trade agreement to save the American economy. If you really push China too far, it won't do the US any good. China has never been the one to stir up trouble. But we're also never afraid of trouble. If the US wants to play the sanctions game, then bring it on. Let's see who has the last laugh. The more the US throws a fit, the more it proves that China-Russia cooperation is the right path. When Putin actually appears on the Tiananmen Gate Tower, Trump will realize that all his little tricks can't change the bigger picture at all.